Hey everybody, I got an exciting video for you, and I think it's going to save you guys a lot of frustration and a lot of time. So I've worked in a couple of different enterprises, both large and small, either directly for the company or as in a consulting type of scenario, working for Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and even small to medium-sized businesses. But irregardless, this particular issue has to do with multiple developers working in Power Apps at the same time, which is not possible. But I'm going to show you how to make light work of, I guess, an otherwise bad situation. Microsoft earlier this year kind of been playing with some command line tools, and you're going to see that right here. And you'll notice that effective in June 2021, this command line interface tool used to be called Microsoft Power Apps CLI. They are now rebranding it to Microsoft Power Platform CLI. And so the old name is helpful to understand because if you take the P, the A, and the C, you get PAC. Okay? And so when you run this command line interface, you call it by using PAC. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to download it and install it. But if you just type in PAC, you'll get what you're seeing here on screen. You'll get the version number and all of the latest and greatest information. But more on that in a little bit. We'll come back to that. So what exactly will this do for you? Well, the command line interface tool has a lot of really great stuff, but we're only going to focus on one little aspect of it, and that's for the Canvas applications. And so there's administrative functions that you can do. So if you think about how you're using ALM and Azure DevOps, and maybe you want to have Canvas apps inside of ADO, specifically in the Git repos and things of that nature, or maybe you have your own repo system. This command line tool is a way to automate a lot of this stuff. But again, I'm not going to even focus on that aspect of it. I'm going to let you explore all of the different commands and all of the different possibilities there. Now, if you're watching this from a government entity and you have one of these government plans, there's a disclaimer around here somewhere. Let me find it. Where is this command? I ran across it and I wanted to, okay, here it is right here. Microsoft Power Platform CLI is currently not available for use in GCC or GCC High. These regions are dedicated towards U.S. government regions, okay? But what I'm going to show you here today, even if you're a government entity, you can still download the tool, you can still use it because you're going to do all this magic or auto magic locally anyway, okay? So don't worry that it's not available for your region. You just won't be able to use some of the advanced functionality such as the administrative and the authentication and stuff. We're only going to focus in on this Canvas thing because this is what we're interested in. Essentially, let me verbally kind of walk you through this before we actually get down into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our Power application. Okay, I'm going to use this app that I used from my last video. And the reason for that is because I have several screens, but I also have a lot of complexity in that there's a lot of different components in there. So that kind of makes for a complicated scenario. And I think it's great for this particular use case to highlight and showcase this. So what we're going to do is we're going to export this app, not even export it, we're going to save it as, right? And we're going to save it locally because you can export it and it packages it up in a zip file, and we don't want that. What we want is the file with the MS app extension. And so to do that, we have to download it in a certain way, and I'll show you that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use this command here in the pack. And what we're going to do is we're going to run the unpack of that. And what that's going to do is it's going to disassemble the entire application. And from there, we can check it into source control. From here, we can use a comparison tool. And more importantly, we can take screens, because this is typically what a lot of you are doing now anyway. You'll have, say, a team of 5, 6 developers on a large project in Power Apps. But what happens is these different developers, while they're all working on the same app, they're all working on their own screens in the app. And then what happens is as they go through the ALM process from one environment to the other, they have to painstakingly copy and paste the code and the objects back from their development version of the app into a master version of the app. And it is excruciatingly painful and time consuming. So I'm going to show you how to download the app and put a strategy behind this. So the strategy will be that you have a master copy of the app, right? And then each developer will have their own. You're probably doing that now already, right? But then you're going to take these, the master and the developers edition. What's going to happen is you're going to go and unpack that. Then you're going to use a comparison tool and you're going to move the code from the left side to the right side, or the right side to the left side, depending on how you do it. And I'll show you that in a minute. And so what will happen is all of the screens, all of the code, just from moving the code back, will now be lickety split, right? You don't have to worry about making sure you copy and paste, or all of the different properties need to be set in the different areas. Plus, did I have this component? Did I not have this component? And it gets really messy really, really quick. So this is fantastic for you large enterprises that finally want to work in a smarter way, get better ALM, have source control. All of this is the answer to this solution. So let's get started and let's kind of dig in on how to do a lot of this. So the first thing we need to do is, let's just say this is our master application, okay? And in order to get started, let's go ahead. Actually, you know what? Let's take this first snapshot and let's make a developer 2 copy. So in this scenario, what I'm going to show you today, we're going to do a master and developer number 1 and developer number 2, and then that master. So let's just say we got the master app, we got 2 developers on the project. Obviously, if you have more, you'll follow the same process, but you'll kind of just do it again for each and every one that you have, or developer that you have on the team. So to get started, let's use this one as developer 2. So let me go to File. Let me go to Save As. I got to change this to this computer, okay? And as soon as I do that, what it does is it allows me to download the file. And so here it is downloaded. So if I click over here into my downloads, here's the name of my app, Component Labs, and .msapp. So what I'm going to do with this one right now is I'm going to go into here and I'm going to do a hyphen master, okay? So then I know this is my, actually no, I said I wasn't going to do that. Sorry. We'll do this as dev2. Okay, and that'll be there. All right, so now I'm going to go back. Now what I'm going to do, let's delete the date functions component, and let's come over here where the date functions are on the screen. And I got an error because I deleted the component, which is good. All right, so now I've deleted this. I'm going to call this one developer 1 because developer 1 doesn't have the date picker stuff that developer 2 is working on. And so let me go back to File. Let me go back to Save As. Let me go to Computer. We'll download this again. And I didn't mean to click on the file. All right, so let's do this one and rename this guy. So we'll do -dev1. Okay. And now let's go back into the app. Let's delete David's new screen. So we'll delete this one. Good enough. Okay. And so now this is what's going to be called master because it has the least amount of work done. So the scenario is we've got a master and 2 developers have done additional work, even though I've done it in a reverse process. Hopefully this didn't get confusing to you and you understand what's going on. So essentially the master has the least amount of stuff in it, and developer 1 has a little bit more but not everything, and then developer 2 actually does have everything that developer 1 has, but he also has some changes as well. So anyway, this will still work for illustration purposes. Let me go down to Save As, and this computer, download it again, and this one should be our master copy. So let me do this here. We'll do dash. Okay, so now I'm going to create 3 folders. So we got a master folder. Dagnabbit. All right, we got a master folder. We'll call this one dev1, and then we'll go into here. We'll do dev2. Okay, so now we have our master apps. Now what we need to do is we need to unpack that, right? So if we go back over here and we start looking at some of the usage, here we can see that we need to say, here's the command line interface for the tool, the pack, but let me show you where to get this information or where to download it. So I will put a link in the description box below for you to do it to this page so that you can get access to the documentation as well as download it. Now I am not going to use the tool that's in the marketplace if you use VS Code. If you're on a Mac, you probably want to use it this way because the command line tool that I'm going to show you only works in Windows. It doesn't work on Mac. So if you're a Mac person and you want to use the console or the command line console inside of VS Code, I believe you can do it there, what I'm going to show you here. I don't have a Mac, so I can't test it. So leave a comment in the comments below if you have a Mac and you're able to use VS Studio, or VS Code rather, and you can follow along and use the console baked into the VS Code app. All right, so with that being said, what you'll do is you'll come over here to the standalone Power Platform CLI. Okay, so again, if you're on Windows, this is how you're going to do it. So you'll go ahead and you'll download this file. It'll download the file, you'll install the file, and then you saw what I did earlier. I just typed in pack, and as long as you get this screen or something similar to this, then you're good to go. Now, one of the things I would do is I would do pack install and then do latest. And you'll see this down here at the bottom. It kind of tells you some indications that you can do this. So in any event, this just makes sure that you have the latest and greatest version. You probably want to run this every so often. And also keep a copy of the previous version just in case Microsoft were to, God forbid, break something, and then you need to go ahead and revert back. We live in a perfect world after all, right? All right, anyway, so that being said, I've gone ahead and done it. So, right, it says I've already got the latest version installed. Life is good. Okay, so now that you've got the tool, you've got it downloaded, you've got it installed, let's go ahead and pull up the side over here, and let's begin by unpacking the master. So let me click into master. Let me copy this out. All right, so here I'm going to do pack. Now the first thing that we need to do is we need to specify what tool set or what sub-tool set inside the entire pack tool do we want to work with. And so if you ever get lost, just type in pack, and all you need to do is type in help. So this first pack help lets you know that, hey, listen, I have to pick something from this list. In this case, I need to do pack canvas. And then we can repeat the process. So you don't need to use Microsoft Docs to understand how to use it. Once you have the tool, you can just continue to do it in this way. So what's the next thing that I need? So now I need to specify whether I want to pack or unpack. So that's fine, I want to unpack. And then help. What do I do now? So now it's saying that I need to extract the MS app into some source folders, and it says the commands, and what I have to do is provide a sources, which is kind of backwards. This is actually destination. Okay, so source and destination and any other type of tool or utility means something normal. In this utility, they got the nomenclature in reverse. So just know it's like this. When you're unpacking, the MS app is the MS app that you saw me download. These guys, okay? This is what we downloaded from the make.powerapps experience portal online. And so then what we need to specify is the destination of where we want to put it. But again, because the nomenclature is backwards, destination is actually sources. So what does that, or what would that look like in the command line? So let's do CLS. Let's do unpack, and we're going to do -- because that's what it was, MS app, and then I need to put the location of the file. And so under the downloads, I'm going to back this off, and I'm just going to hit tab. And so I don't want that one. I don't want that one. I just keep hitting tab. I hit tab twice to cycle through the file names. Okay, so that's the file that I want. And now what I need to do is do the destination, but in this one it's called sources, it's plural. And so now with that being said, I can once again paste in this, and let's see, it's just master. Okay, so that's the destination. So I want to put it in the master folder. All right, so I believe I've got everything correct. I'm going to hit enter. and it looks good. I see files that just showed up, and I didn't get any errors. So life is good. So here's the thing of what you need to understand. And let's go back to the documentation because this is worth taking a note. If we scroll down towards the middle or the bottom, let's see here. Where is this information here? So if we go into Canvas, okay, this lets us know the folder structure, okay? So if you're interested in, hey, listen, what is all this information about? And I'm going to cover this here. And I got to understand what all of these were by reading through this documentation right here. SRC is really a short acronym for screens. And so all of your screens are going to be in this folder, which is really cool. And there's 2 variations of it, and I'll have to show that to you in a little bit. And then you've got the data sources. As you add data sources into it, any connections that you're using in your Power App, it goes into there. Any assets that you have, like embedded imagery, things of that nature, the assets wind up showing up in there. Any of the packages, these are downloaded components, references, templates, things of that nature. And I have some in this application that I created because I did a custom component. And then the entropy stuff is really just checking volatile elements and checksums and things of that nature. And for the most part, because we're editing the source of our application, not in the make.com experience, we're actually getting into the low-level source code of this, we can kind of ignore that for what we're going to show you here. So that being said, that's how you get to understand all of that. But I find it kind of ironic that they spell out connections and data sources in full detail, but they get chintzy with screens, and they just abbreviate it to SRC. So to me, and being HTML, knowledgeable, SRC is a source, of the image or whatever. So I don't know, just get these little things. I got OCD, and they make me bonkers. So if it makes you crazy, don't worry about it. You're going to have to live with it just like I do. All right, so in any event, moving along here, I just wanted to show you that all of the source code is in plain English. Now, you can use VS Code, you can edit the source code in whatever, but what we need to actually do here is repeat this process that I just did a couple of more times for both the developer version as well as just both developer versions. So I'm going to come back here to C, and I'm going to see if I can just cycle through by hitting tab, and not so much. All right, so let me get back here, and I lost my path, so let me just copy it out here. Actually, you know what, this is an opportunity to show you another trick. So if you ever get like this and you don't have the path and you want to do an easy, quick route, just do %% and just type in user. This is an environment variable on Windows, so if you're not sure what that is, I'll let you Google that. But just type in user profile, USER. Okay, so with % inside of % user profile, just hit enter. And when you do that, it takes you into your path. And now if I click on downloads, I should get the full path, which I do, right? So now I can copy that out. So quick little side trick for you in case that's helpful. In any event, I'm going to paste that into here. I don't know why that didn't come out. Let's try this again. Back this off, and I'm right clicking, and that's how I'm pasting. If you're curious about that as well. All right, so now with that being said, now I'm going to do my tab. All right, so here's our dev 1, and now I got to do the sources again, and then I'm going to use this same path, except this time I'm going to do dev 1. So all of that looks good. And I'm going to double click into dev 1, and I have files, dev 2. All right, so we can do the same process. This one should be much easier because I just have to change 1 and 2. Let me scroll back. I don't know, where's my cursor? Here it is. And dev 2. Awesome. Okay, so I've got everything that I need. Let me clear. And now I've got all my files here. So now what we need to do is let's compare dev 1 to the master, and then when we're got everything moved from dev 1 into master. So the use case here is the developer 1 is done with his changes and everything works locally for him or her. The developer number 2 is also done and everything works for, again, him or her, and all of that's being said and done. And with that all being completed, now what we need to do is just kind of figure out what's the difference. So one of the things I also want to show you is a tool that I like to use because it's free, okay? And for the illustration and purposes of this, if you don't have a tool like it, this might be something you like. Otherwise, if you have your own preference or your own tool, it's like an IDE, right? You can use VS Code, Visual Studio, Sublime Text, you know, it's a personal preference. So I'm only showing you this because, again, it's free. And if you don't know about anything that's out there, then this is a great place to start. So it's WindMerge.org. And so you go here and you download this tool, okay? And this tool is pretty cool because it allows you to do, you know, merging, file comparisons, and things of that nature. So WindMerge, let me just go here. Let me click under A. Let's go to the W's, and somewhere in here is WindMerge new. Here we go. Okay, it's on the other screen. Let's minimize this. Okay, that being said, let's now do some comparisons. So File, New, let's see here. Well, we don't need to make a project, so let's just hit the open. All right, so what I want to compare is browse. We want to compare the master, and we'll select master. So master's going to be on the left, and now what we want to do is check out developer 1. So let's look at dev 1. Okay, so we're going folder to folder, guys. All right, and so with the defaults in WindMerge, if this is the tool that you're using, down here it includes the subfolders. Very important. You want star.star to make sure you're comparing everything. So when I hit compare, I'm going to get kind of a roll up. Now on my version, I uncheck show identical items, so this is what you'll see by default. But to me personally, that's a lot of noise. I only care about what's changed, so that I know from what's in Dev 1's copy, how do I bring that into the master? So for me personally, I like to reduce the noise, and I remove show identical items because I don't care about anything item. The entropy I made mention earlier, this has things like the checksums and entropy versioning and stuff, so we can completely ignore this altogether. What we do need to know is look at this canvas manifest. Now, if you double click on it, at first glance, you're like, well, nothing is changed, right? But it also brings open this window so you can compare. Now, notice on the left, and it's extremely important that you understand left and right and what that means. So the one that I chose first, when I hit this open thing, this first folder or file or folder is the left side. The second one is called the right side. And if I were to, and you could, but I'm not going to get into it in this video. And I suggest you don't attempt that or this until you're really familiar with the tool or you've been a seasoned DevOps person and you know what you're doing with this. You could compare Dev 1, Dev 2, and Master all in one fell swoop if you so chose, but again, I'm just going to try to boil it down to keep things more simple. So anyway, left and right, you really need to understand that. So as I scroll down, what's neat is if we look over this long thing on the left sidebar, you can see that the difference, we got some colors down here, and the colors are showing me what's different or what's changed or what's new. So here we can see that this is around the start of the change, and that we see that the Dave's new screen is listed here. Now this is the screen order. Now I don't have Dave's screen in the master. I only have Dave's new screen for developer 1 because that's what developer 1 was working on. So I see what's changed. I'm okay with it. What I want to do is I want to take the changes from the right, meaning the Dev 1 copy, and I want to bring them over into the master. So to do that, what I want to do, a couple different ways you can do it. You can right click on it and you can choose copy to the left, which is what I want to do. You can also come up here on the top in the ribbon. When you get used to the icons, this is move everything all to the left, which would work in this particular case, but there's what was it, the Spider-Man movie, great power comes great responsibility or something like that. In any event, that button is that tool, that idiom right there. That's a lot of power. So just if you press it, you really better know what you're doing. So really all we want to do is we want to copy left, and we don't need to advance, but the copy left is good. And if you're a keyboard person, you can just do alt left. So I'm just going to click this over, and now I get a pop-up box. I would like to leave that on. Normally I get rid of annoying dialog pop-ups, but in this instance, I want that satisfaction of that confirmation. So for me, I'm going to leave it on. This just lets me know that everything's good. So now I see I've got a full match, right? So I'm going to close that down. And now it says, do you want to save the modified files? Yes, I do. Okay, so now we're done with that. Now you see we got a green tick box. So under the screens, if we twirl this open, a couple different things. Screens come in two phases, okay? Now, I don't know enough about the low-level idiosyncrasies. I will say that the screen.fx has your FX code or the Excel-like expressions in it, but there's this other thing called the editor state, and I'll have to do a little bit more reading or digging to give you more clarification maybe in a future video. But just know that for right now and for the purposes of doing the task, it's not super important to understand that. What I'm showing you here is what's important to understand. But if you do know what that is, please leave another comment in the comments below and kind of share with the rest of us what that is if you've had an opportunity to do it. And I'll do the same if I research it after recording the video. But in any event, the editor state and this new screen.fx. So you got the screen name .editorstate.json. And then you got the new screen.fx, which I think has all of the codes as it relates to, you know, all of the different programming and stuff that you added goes into here. But in any event, this is just JSON. You've seen this. You do this already typically in the Power Apps anyway. When you're patching, you have to provide a dictionary inside the curly braces. Well, JSON is kind of that same format, key value pair stuff. And then, of course, the YAML file is very similar to the XML and the JSON. It's all plain English, right? But it's very specific and strict formatting to adhere to the file extension. So, in any event, same things. You'll notice something interesting. So, here, take note of this. The left date is missing, and we got this weird broken thing. Now, the page is jagged, right? That's what the icon is. But the smooth edge of the page is on the right side. If this was the opposite, where I had files in the master that weren't in the dev1, then what would happen is that page break would be, the smooth side would be on the left. So what I'm saying is the page is essentially tore in half. And you just need to look at and say, is that the right or the left side? And if you're confused, the dead giveaway is the left date column, the right date column. Where there's a date, that means that there is essentially, that's where that exists. So what I need to do, I can take care of everything in one fell swoop. I can right click over here and I can say copy to the left. And so I think I clicked something wrong. Let me do this one more time. I want to copy. I want to go right to left. Sorry. Yeah, I want to copy from the right to the left. That's what I want to do. Okay, do you want to copy from the right? Yes, I do. Okay, that's there. Excellent. All right, so I've got both of the screens over there now. Actually, no, I only have the one screen. So I guess I tried to do a batch operation. I thought I had that working before. In any event, I just downloaded this free tool today, so I'm not as familiar with this tool, obviously, as you can tell. So I'm just going to repeat the same process, and I'm going to copy. I don't want to move it, because if I move it, then I take it out of the other side, and I don't. I want to move it from the right to the left. And so that's good there. Okay, so that's moved over. Now for the actual screen, I have some components for the screen. And so here's a whole bunch of components here. So let's jump in and let's look at the access global var example JSON. Let's double click on the file, which will open up the comparison editor. And again, the color is at the bottom. So let's scroll to the bottom. So the only thing that's different here is the version number. And that's a version of the component. So as far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think it much matters if I leave it or if I copy it over. So at this point, I would say experiment. If you notice something detrimental or problematic, leave a comment for everybody in the comments box below, because it would be helpful. In my testing that I've done, I have not seen this make any difference at all. So because I don't want to create more work for myself, I'm simply going to ignore this right now. So I'm going to say I don't have anything to do there. And I think all of these are going to be pretty much about the same. So let's scroll down. Yep, same thing. We got the version going on there. And we got the version going on here. Okay, great. Perfect. All right, I don't need to worry about that. So let's see what else. So I'm not going to deal with the entropy, and I only have the component, so that's it. So this is done, guys. So I now have a master that has all of the Dev1 changes. So that means that if I package this back up, okay, with the tool, I should now be able to upload this into the make.powerapps experience, and I should see everything that's there. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and run a comparison on the second version. So now what I want to do is switch over with all of Dev1's changes in the master. We're going to do this again, but we're going to do it on 2. So let's see what we got over here. Again, we're only showing the differences. We're not showing anything that's changed. We're going to ignore entropy. We have a file that is on the left side that is not on the right side, which is something I don't need to worry about because I don't need to worry about copying the master down to the dev. Now, that being said, if you're a developer, and there's a use case here, if you're the developer and you need to get the latest changes, maybe Dev 2 isn't done with his work, but Dev 1 is. And Dev 2 has come in the morning and they've decided that they want to start working from where they left off. But what they want to do is they want to make sure they've got all of the latest and greatest changes maybe that happened yesterday at the close of business. So that developer 2 should go into the Power Apps Make experience, download the new MS app from the master, which should have all of the latest and greatest changes. Obviously, hopefully somebody's checking this stuff in, otherwise this isn't going to matter. And then when they download it, they'll get something similar to this, because now what we're seeing is changes that are in the Dev 1 instance that's not over here, right? So I have this backup file. So if I look at the manifest, let's see what's going on in the manifest. If we scroll down, let's see what we've got. We've got date and functions on this that's not in the master, so we do know that we want to bring that over, so let's copy that to the left. Okay, files are identical. And I see that this is a canvas manifest JSON. This is a backup file. So you know what? I don't need the backup file locally, so I'm going to leave this on the left. I don't need it in my developer 2's copy, but I did need to take the changes from my dev 2, the right side, and move it to the left. And that's what I did with the canvas manifest JSON. All right, so that being said, that's all said and done. Now I have this programmatic visual effects for my date functions. I need to bring that over, so let's copy that over to from the right to the left, and we're actually copying a file over that time. So we're going to have some editor state stuff that's also in the same state. So copy right to left. Yes. Okay, so that time, I don't know what I did different the first time, but in any event, I did do a batch operation. So you saw that. Maybe I'll rewind the video myself and see what I did, but you should not necessarily have or see all of that. All right, so what do we got here? We got stuff over here on the components. So I've got some components that are in my copy that's not in the master. So if I double cherry click, I did a control click to select both of them. And now I'm going to copy right to left. So there's 2. So let's move those over. So those are over. I think this is the versioning thing again. Yep, it is on that one. So I like to double check. So, you know, this is meticulous. This is kind of brain surgery. But the point is that you can do this. And so before, you would have to copy and paste all of the code. And so because I'm recording a video, it takes much longer to walk through the process than it would just to do it in about 5 to 10 minutes, honestly, once you get in the groove and get used to all of this stuff. All right, so that's all the same. That's all the same. We've seen everything there. Okay, I think I'm done, and I should have a completed master. Now, I didn't save the application. It wasn't called master, but we have the kind of a good before and an after comparison. So I'm going to show you some stuff about packaging it up and then checking it in. All right, so that being said, all of that is done. This is done. I'm done with the comparison. Now I need to go back to the command line. And so now what I need to do is I need to pack up the master. So let's do this. I want to do pack, and I want to do the canvas. And what do I want to do? I want to pack. So now same thing again. Let's look at the same switches, okay? So we can do the same thing. So what are we going to do? First, we're going to have to say, but this time we're going backwards, right? So the first time when we unpacked, first we had to specify the MS app, and in the destination folder called sources, where we wanted it to be. In this instance, this actually is the correct nomenclature. It is a source. We have to point it to a source folder, and then we're going to put a destination as to where we want to build the final MS app. So the first one is sources. And for that one, I'm going to do the master. So we're going to copy this out, paste this here, and now I need to do the MS app. Okay, and I'm going to paste the same thing in here, except I'm going to add the master app right to the root of the downloads folder. Okay, so I'm going to create a new MS app. I have 3 of them. I'm going to create a 4th one, and I'm going to call this one master. Okay, so with anything not going wrong, everything should be good. All right, I do have the file, but let's read through what we've got here. So it says warning, so don't worry about it. That's that entropy thing that was different, and this is the checksum, and it even tells you. The checksum indicates that the source has been modified since they've been packed, and if this was intentional, in this case it is intentional. We did go in and modify and change all of this information, so we can safely ignore the warning. It was because of stuff that we did. Now, if you hadn't done any of this, you need to make sure that there's not malicious code or somebody did something funny. But in any event, we're all good now. So now with the master app, now we can go back into the Make Power Apps experience, and we should come over here to File, choose Open, we'll browse the file, we'll choose our master, and now we're going to bring it up. Now it says, what do you want to do with the changes? I don't want to save any of the changes, right? Because if I don't save any of the changes, essentially then nothing's changed. And so I want to be able to do a comparison between my new master app and what is actually in the system. But there's some other things too that I want to show you. So I should have 5 screens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I do. And I should have 5 different components. I believe there's 5 components. Matter of fact, I don't remember if there's 5 components. Let me do make. Let's do this again. All right, let's go into apps. We have the component labs. Let's go ahead and edit. We can actually, I'm going to shut this down. All right, so this is the uploaded master. And so I have 4 components here. And let me check my components. And I have 4 components over here. Okay, so it is the same. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to close the original down. So that's what this is. And now I'm in the master one that I uploaded, right? And so if I come over here to File, some interesting things. First is telling me that the name already exists to choose a different name. So this is all well and good. I can save this out as a brand new Power App and it'll be its own thing, right? Or I can replace or update the existing app by clicking that link. And notice, did you see the button down here change? So that's kind of cool there. And so I have the opportunity, again, to change the name. So I could do Labs 1, and now I can save, or I can leave the name the same, and I can click Replace, but then this turns into the replace, and this will override my previous master. So I hope this information in this video was helpful for you. We saw the master app that we deconstructed, which wasn't called master, it was called Component Labs. And so what we did is we undid a couple of changes to emulate a developer 1 and a developer 2, both with different stages of development. We tore the stuff down, we downloaded it, unpacked it, and then we used a file comparison tool to merge and bring all of that back into one. So I hope now that you can see the benefit of this, and so you can also do source control around this, right? So now you have branches off of your main. So those of you that know Git, that know repos and repositories, you know about the main master branch, you know about the developers branch or the hotfix branch, or whatever your branching strategy is for your source control or your code source control. And so the possibilities now are endless, because now you can take the source control files, the raw data files that make up what makes a Power App behind the scenes, and you can now put that into source control. But more importantly, my purpose for this video was having multiple developers on the same project when you can only work on different screens at a different time. So using and employing this strategy with this technique and these tools that's available by Microsoft, hopefully you'll have a much better go of it in the enterprise where you guys work and have a little bit more collaboration. So that's it for this video. Thanks everybody. I do appreciate it. Have a great day.